Hey everyone, it's Paul with this week's video. So today I am going to talk about three great investors of our time. I was thinking that the financial media spends a great deal of time talking about people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And from our perspective, from a future perspective, from a America 2.0 perspective, fourth industrial perspective, truthfully, what Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are doing really has very little relevance. And by the time they come to the kinds of stocks that we want to own, we probably want to sell to them. That's no disrespect to them. In their time, they were the growth investors that you wanted to follow. However, in today's world, I would tell you that someone like Warren Buffett and folks that are pursuing sort of a value mentality are largely looking in the rearview mirror at companies that are past their prime and that I keep telling you represent America 1.0 and where the destination is certain, which is zero. And it's just a matter of when they're getting there because the world is being remade. There is this fourth industrial revolution that we have called America 2.0 that is taking over, completely remaking every part of our economy, every sector, every industry, and then growing new parts of our economy. So who would you look to today in terms of looking at what is their strategy? What stocks are they investing in? How are they thinking today? So today I want to tell you about three insanely brilliant, genius level, phenomenal investors that you can follow and look at their ideas, look at their stock picks, Google them, follow what they're saying, and then tell you about some commonalities in the way that they think that is similar actually to the way that we look at the world. And you can imagine what they are, which is number one, they're all looking forward. In other words, all of the gains that they expect are going to happen 1, 3, 5, 7 years from now. And they all believe that we are in an incredibly disruptive time where you want to be investing in the companies that are innovating, in the companies that are actually disruptifying. In other words, taking what is possible as a result of technology, innovation, demographic change, and really going for it, really shifting the paradigm completely from where it is to where the world is going to be. And that extends everything from cryptocurrencies to fintech, to space, to autonomy, mobility. And these investors, you will see, they cover the entire gamut of it, as do we. Nonetheless, we're going to focus on them. And then I'll tell you as well that if you want something similar, well, check into Profits Unlimited because this is our focus as well. Fourth Industrial Revolution, America 2.0, growth stocks with an eye looking out a minimum 1 to 3 years. And generally speaking, if you can, you want to stay longer because the great companies keep going. And they keep going and they keep growing. Nonetheless, let's get to the subject of today's video. Three great, brilliant, genius growth investors to follow. And genius number one is someone that you are probably a little bit familiar with already, and that is Cathie Wood of ARK Invest. Now, you can look at Cathie Wood's ETF, which has the ticker symbol ARKK. And this one is sort of her flagship ETF, sort of like the way Profits Unlimited is my flagship investment newsletter. ARKK, which is the ARK Innovation ETF, is her flagship ETF. And you can see, I'll put up this graph, which has her 20 top holdings. And those of you who are in Profits Unlimited will see many holdings that we have in common. However, I'm just going to talk about what really made Cathie Wood. In other words, she made a very large bet when the rest of the world was saying that this was a terrible bet. And that bet was Tesla. Cathie was a big bull on Tesla. And she put out these insane seemingly ridiculous price targets, $2,000, $4,000, and people told her she was crazy. People said all kinds of nasty, mean things about her. Go on Twitter, they still do that. However, as I like to often say, the last laugh always belongs to the person that is right. So Cathie Wood has been right about Tesla. And if you look at ARK Invest, you will see that it now represents 10% of ARKK, the innovation ETF. And that's as a result of obviously the amount that she put in to begin with, and then as a result of the insane appreciation that Tesla has seen really over the last year or so, where it has skyrocketed up to her price target and then beyond. And the thing is that she is still bullish about Tesla, as are we, and primarily for the same reasons, which is that she sees Tesla as being a class, a world, and I will add a planet apart. And I'm not talking about Mars in terms of actually making electric vehicles. And then in terms of autonomy, in other words, robo-taxis or autonomous transportation. Everyone else is using simulated miles. Tesla has actual cars on the road that are recording actual data. They also have an approach to autonomy and self-driving that needs no maps. In other words, it's simply going to interpret the situation, interpret the scenario, and make a decision. It is a more difficult way. However, it is a way that is going to be impossible for everyone else to copy. And they are now years and years out in the lead. And right now, it may seem like everyone else can catch up. However, as is becoming clear to all the folks that are trying to make electric vehicles today, Tesla is 7-10 years ahead in terms of making batteries, and 5-7 years ahead in terms of thinking through the big difference between making an electric vehicle and making an internal combustion engine, which is that you need to reduce the weight so that the battery can have maximum range. And then you also need to try and capture as many efficiencies in terms of being able to charge the battery. And in terms of thinking through all of that and the vertical integration necessary to actually accomplish that, they are just years ahead. And a couple of years ago, it may have seemed possible that the Volkswagens and GMs and Fords could catch up. They ain't catching up, folks. They're done for. They represent America 1.0, and they're going to first struggle and then die slowly off. And that's not wishing anybody ill. That's just on the basis of looking at what they're doing, looking at what their offering is, and simply seeing how far ahead Tesla is in terms of just its transportation business. Then there's its solar business, the solar roofs, the power walls. And I personally myself have actually just gotten a power wall, and I can tell you this product is amazing, needs no manual. Someone comes to install it, and then you go to your app and you can control it. No complicated setup. The moment the power goes off, it takes over. Well, I can gush over and over about Tesla. Nonetheless, Cathie Wood deserves the credit, because years and years ago, when Tesla was being heavily shorted, when people were telling you that it was going to go to zero, that it was bankrupt, that it didn't deserve its market capitalization, she stuck it out. And she made her name on it. And I believe she is right, and she's going to continue to be right. And I also believe that a lot of the stocks that you see in ARKK, you can see stocks like Teladoc, you can see stocks like Zoom, you can see stocks that today many other people are skeptical about. However, we shall see who laughs last. I believe that Cathie Wood is going to end up being right. And all the people today that scoff at her, they're going to be wrong once again. So that's my genius number one, brilliant investor number one, that I believe that you should follow, track what they are saying, track what they are doing, look at what companies they're investing in, look at what technologies they are looking at, how they're looking at those technologies, to give you an idea as to what kinds of companies and stocks to invest in. All right. So the second person that I want to mention as being a complete genius, utterly, completely brilliant, is Peter Thiel. Now, Peter Thiel is not so well known among investors. However, if you look him up, you will see that he was one of the co-founders of PayPal along with Elon Musk. And he took that fortune and created a firm that is a hedge fund, an investment firm called the Founders Fund. And I'm just going to put up this partial list of his holdings. There's actually a page full, and there's far more than what I could ever put up. However, you can go on to Google and Google Peter Thiel, and you'll find lots of listings of his holdings. However, we're going to just talk about what made Peter Thiel. And if you have seen the movie The Social Network, there's a brief scene where Peter Thiel gives money to Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and acts as investor number one. I believe the investment was $650,000 to buy, I forget the percentage of Facebook. However, it was a large percentage. And then Peter Thiel continued to invest in Facebook as it continued to grow. And that made Peter Thiel. In other words, that investment today is worth billions and billions of dollars. However, Peter also has made massive other investments, including those in Palantir Technology, Airbnb. And if you think about 3 or 5 years ago, no one had heard of Palantir. The idea of using artificial intelligence, which is what Palantir is about, was largely something that was an idea in people's head. However, Peter, along with the founder of Palantir, decided to make this technology real, create a service that would be valuable to companies, governments, and is going to be, in all likelihood, the leader of the artificial intelligence technology sector, if you will, which I believe is going to be pervasive. In other words, no different than electricity today, where it's unimaginable to think about a world without electricity. Eventually, the idea that a device or homes not powered by artificial intelligence is going to be unthinkable. And you will have companies like Palantir that will be leading that revolution. So that's one of the companies that Peter Thiel co-founded and has been a big investor in. And now Palantir has recently come public, so there's not big gains necessarily to report from that. However, just understand that he was in as a founder. So Palantir is now a multi-billion-dollar company, and he's got gains in the billions of dollars as a result of it. So that's my brilliant genius investor number 2, Peter Thiel, who made his original money through PayPal and then invested into Facebook, became a billionaire, and then has founded Palantir and, in truth, a number of other companies. You can see on that list that he's an investor in any number of America 2.0 companies. And truthfully, I have studied Peter Thiel quite a bit, and I've taken one thing from him that is very important, which is that we as investors are very focused on today, and a lot of you focus on this quarter's earnings and to see if it beat the earnings. And Peter, if you go and listen to him on YouTube or read him, says that the big value in these companies is in the out years. In other words, they come in year 2, year 3, and that's where his focus is, and that's where our focus is. And that's what I try to remind you during periods like this, which is that a very short focus means that you are going to miss out on the big gains. And I understand that some people who might be older or who want short-term gains are like, well, I don't really care. I really want these gains now. Well, the truth is, and I say this in many videos, our services are wrong for you, because we, like Peter, like Kathy, and the third brilliant investor, we look out 1, 3, 5, 7 years, and we are looking to make big money over time. Now, sometimes they'll generate gains like this, and that's great. However, our goal is to try and generate big money over time, rather than in a day, in a week, or in a month, or in a year. So I know during periods like this, I get a lot of email, I get a lot of tweets, I get a lot of comments in the YouTube section telling me, about XYZ stock that's not up, or people asking me about XYZ stock that is down from wherever we put in the portfolio. And we can only say that at the growth rates that we're expecting, because these are transformational companies, disruptive companies that are looking to disrupt entire industries, the upside is absolutely massive. However, it is going to unfold over time. And during that time period, there's no guarantee that you will only have small dips in the price. Whether you look at Cathie Wood's ARK Invest or Peter Thiel's holdings, including for Facebook or any of the others, Airbnb, Coinbase, I believe is another one, the investment, there have been huge ups and downs. And unless you're willing to ride it, you could never, ever, ever get the benefit of big gains. And to me, big gains are the reasons why I invest. Big gains are what we pursue across our services. I believe that their approach, which has generated billions of dollars for them and for their investors, I believe is the right one. All right, moving on to brilliant genius investor number 3, and that is Tim Draper. Now, Tim is probably the least well-known of the 3 that I'm mentioning, and that's because Tim has largely sort of been in the crypto world, and his most famous investment, if you will, if you look it up on Google, was in 2014 when he took investors' money and his personal money and bought 30,000, that's right, 30,000 Bitcoins from the US government. And these Bitcoins actually had been confiscated from a sort of illegal market called Silk Market, and he bought them for $600. So if you do the math on that today, you can tell that that's turned out to be an astonishing amount of money, because each Bitcoin today by itself is worth something like $30,000. And it had a recent peak of $64,000. So its value was double whatever you're currently computing. And as you know, I have a price target of $250,000 for Bitcoin. So you can imagine that at that price, this is going to be an extraordinary buy, the buy of the century, if you will. And then if you look at just one small sliver of Tim Draper's holdings, these are his blockchain investments, and you will see there's an extraordinary array of investments that he has made across cryptocurrencies, across various blockchain companies, and you're just seeing a small number of it. You'll see that it says 42 holdings. You'd have to scroll down on the page, and you can go to Draper Ventures on Google and search for that, and you'll find his page, and you can look through. It's a mix of public companies, cryptocurrencies that you can buy on Coinbase or other exchanges. In other words, these are places where you can go and look at for leads in terms of what are some of the smartest, brightest investors of our time that have gotten the last 5 years and the last 10 years and are getting the current period correct. What are they doing? What are they thinking? What are they investing in? What sectors are they focused on? What industries are they focused on? What is their thought process? Because the financial media is always distracting you with very short-term ideas. Just a few weeks ago, we were going to have hyperinflation. Today, now there's no more growth. One day there's going to be very high interest rates, or the housing market is collapsing. The next day, everything's fine. In other words, the financial media is a very poor way to come up with an investment philosophy or a decision in terms of what you should buy and how you should continue to go about thinking about your stocks. And these 3 investors, Cathie Wood, Peter Thiel, Tim Draper, their focus is like what we have. In other words, we are future focused. We are America 2.0 focused. We're fourth industrial revolution focused exclusively, laser focused on that. You don't find Coca-Cola or Berkshire Hathaway or Campbell's Soup or these old line companies in their portfolios. What you find instead are companies that are looking at the future, that are going to capture the future and looking to disruptify not just another company, not to just compete with another company. They are looking to take over the entire industry, the way Amazon took over the online retailing world, the way Facebook dominates social media, the way Netflix dominates media, the way Google dominates search and advertising. This is the way they look at the world. And in my judgment, in my opinion, this is a moment of extraordinary, incredible opportunity. And here are some of the folks that are making it as a result of this moment. In other words, they're making those big investments. and generating huge gains over time. So that's very much our focus. And as well for us in Profits Unlimited and across our services, if you're interested in these kinds of investments, I read what these folks are doing. I also track what they do. We invest sometimes alongside with them. Sometimes there's companies that are smaller that we can get into. And if you're interested in that, the way to try us out is try Profits Unlimited. Click on the strong hands above, and that will send you to a page that will give you an invitation. All right, so that's the video for this week. A couple of warnings. This is not financial advice. And I did say we are long-term and stuff is volatile. And if you don't like any of that, please do not follow us. Please don't invest and then expect instant results and then troll me on social media. All right, I'll have another video for you next week. Until then, this is Paul saying bye.